The hummingbird's heart, finding melody in the cacophony of life. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. The lyrics echoed in Luana James's mind, a bittersweet symphony against the jarring discord of her inner world. Love, she thought, felt like a distant shore, a place she could glimpse, but never quite reach. Her own heart, a tiny hummingbird beating frantically against the bars of its self-made cage, longed for that sweet melody, but the cacophony of anxiety and depression drowned it out. Luana's life, from the outside, seemed like a watercolor painting of serene beauty. A successful architect, she lived in a sun-drenched apartment overlooking Central Park, her days filled with creative projects and social engagements. Yet, beneath the surface, a storm raged. Her mind, a relentless tempest, whipped up worries like fallen leaves in a November wind, swirling them into a suffocating vortex of fear and self-doubt. Depression, a heavy blanket woven with threads of despair, smothered her joy, leaving her feeling adrift in a sea of gray. Her anxiety was a constant companion, a shadow lurking just behind her, whispering insidious lies about her worth and capabilities. It transformed everyday occurrences into monumental challenges. A simple presentation at work became a terrifying ordeal, her heart pounding like a drum solo in her chest, her palms slick with nervous sweat. A casual conversation with a friend morphed into an agonizing self-analysis, replaying every word, every gesture, convinced she had said or done something wrong. The depression, on the other hand, was a quiet intruder, stealing her motivation, her energy, her very essence. It painted the world in muted tones, draining the vibrant colors from her life. The things she once loved, painting, hiking, even just laughing with friends, became arduous tasks, joyless exercises, enforced participation. She felt like a marionette, her strings pulled by an unseen puppeteer, going through the motions of life without truly living it. Luana tried to hide her struggles, constructing an elaborate facade of normalcy. She became a master of disguise, masking her pain with a bright smile and witty banter. She poured her energy into her work, seeking validation in her professional achievements. But the mask was heavy, a suffocating weight that threatened to crush her. Inside, she felt like a cracked vase, painstakingly pieced back together, but always fragile, always on the verge of shattering. One particularly difficult day, after a presentation that left her trembling and nauseous, Luana found herself in a quiet corner of the park, tears silently streaming down her face. She felt utterly alone, convinced that no one could possibly understand the turmoil within her. But as she sat there, lost in her despair, a small, elderly woman with kind eyes and a gentle smile approached her. "My dear," the woman said softly, "I couldn't help but notice you seemed a little lost." Luana hesitated, unsure whether to confide in a stranger. But something in the woman's warm gaze gave her the courage to open up. She poured out her heart, describing the relentless anxiety, the crushing depression, and the feeling of being trapped in her mind. The woman listened patiently, her eyes filled with empathy. When Luana finished, she took her hand and said, "My dear, you are not alone. Many people struggle with these feelings. It's like carrying a heavy backpack, isn't it? You don't have to carry it alone." The woman's words were a lifeline, a beacon of hope in the darkness. She shared her own experiences with anxiety and depression, explaining how she had learned to manage her symptoms through therapy, medication, and self-care practices. She encouraged Luana to seek professional help, assuring her that there was no shame in asking for support. Inspired by the woman's words, Luana took the first step towards healing. She found a therapist who specialized in anxiety and depression and began the long and challenging journey of self-discovery. Therapy was like peeling back layers of an onion, each session revealing new insights into the root causes of her struggles. She learned about cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, a technique that helped her identify and challenge negative thought patterns. She discovered mindfulness practices, which taught her to be present in the moment, to observe her thoughts and feelings without judgment. The journey wasn't easy. There were setbacks, days when the anxiety roared back with renewed ferocity, days when the depression threatened to engulf her completely. But Luana persevered, fueled by a newfound sense of hope and a growing understanding of her own strength. She started to incorporate self-care practices into her daily routine. She rediscovered her love for painting, the vibrant colors on the canvas mirroring the gradual brightening of her inner world. She began practicing yoga, the physical postures helping her to connect with her body and release pent-up tension. She spent time in nature, the tranquility of the forest a balm to her troubled mind. Slowly, gradually, Luana began to emerge from the darkness. The anxiety didn't disappear entirely, but it no longer held her captive. She learned to manage it, to recognize its triggers, and to use coping mechanisms to prevent it from spiraling out of control. The depression still visited occasionally, but its grip loosened, its power diminished. Luana's heart, the tiny hummingbird that had been trapped for so long, began to beat with a renewed sense of hope. The cacophony of her inner world didn't vanish completely, but it was no longer a deafening roar. It became a complex melody, a blend of highs and lows, of joy and sorrow, of strength and vulnerability. She realized that healing wasn't about becoming perfect or eradicating all negative emotions. It was about learning to accept them, understand them, and integrate them into the tapestry of her life. It was about finding the melody in the cacophony, about learning to dance in the rain. Luana's story is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope can bloom. It's a story about finding love, not just romantic love, but self-love, the kind of love that allows us to embrace our imperfections, to forgive ourselves for our mistakes, and to celebrate our strengths. It's a story about the power of connection, the importance of reaching out for help, and the transformative impact of empathy and understanding. And it's a story that reminds us, in the words of the song, that what the world needs now is love, sweet love, not just for some, but for everyone. Especially for those who are struggling, those who are lost, those whose hearts are humming a silent melody in the midst of the storm. They need to know that they are not alone, that there is hope, and that the hummingbird's heart can learn to sing again.